Good evening, everybody. This is Danny, Deep South Homestead again. Here, sitting in the house, guys. We missed the storms completely. I think out of everything to do with the storms, we ended up getting about 1.5 inches of rain, and that was over a 5-day period or 4-day period. Just a little bit each day from a passing little thin shower. And but we was blessed. I mean, the rain was much needed on the grass on the pond and stuff, so we were kind of excited about that. But guys, I want to talk to you just a moment about the number 168. And I want you to remember that number. That's an important number when it comes to surviving. It's a very well-known number taught in survival. Used to when I taught, I use the number 168 quite frequently to get everybody familiar with it. Now, I want to back up just a minute now that we've mentioned the number, and I want us to think about some scenarios that's happened. We're facing one right now. In 2005, Katrina came into the Mississippi Gulf Coast and New Orleans, down in this area, devastated us. And now we have Laura that's came in over around Cameron, Louisiana, and has gone up through there, devastating a lot of those places, tearing up stuff. And the number 168 is going to play a big factor in these areas. During Hurricane Katrina, we were without power here for 26 days at my house, and I'm 30-something miles inland. And the thing about it was, you learn real quick that even during a massive problem like a hurricane, you have your thugs. And they don't care. They're going to steal. That's what they do. They're like, well, we don't have any water, or we don't have any food. We got to have something, and they'll just steal. Because they did not prepare. They feel like that they can steal and justify the fact that they didn't do any preparing. Now, where Laura came in Louisiana, they're going to face the same thing over there. You're going to have looters. You're going to have those people that's going around trying to steal all that they can steal, especially if people are not home. And this is what I'm talking about, guys. In an LCE, a life-changing event like this happens, we have those kind of people. Now, let's fast forward just a little bit, and let's talk about if we have a societal collapse. Now, y'all, if you pay any attention to our Patreon videos, we just put up one just prior to this about the 6 stages, and I pray and I hope that y'all looked at that. Because that's where we're at today in this country. They're setting up the 6 stages for communism and for the New World Order, for Agenda 21. Now, when you have these phases, there's the element of protection. Now you see laying beside me right here is my pistol. Now I don't have it on my side sitting here in the chair, and I know a lot of y'all are going to ask, why do I have it laying on the arm of the chair here? Mainly so I never forget it. It's always with me. It doesn't matter where I go. If you ever see me, this is with me somewhere. And you may not see it, but it's there. And the reason I don't have it on me when I'm sitting in this chair is on the side of this clip here is a metal clip. And if I sit down in this Wanda's furniture and that metal clip happens to grab the side of it here and tear it, I'm going to be in trouble. So I just take it off and I lay it beside me. When I get up out of this chair, it's right here. It's always with me. Now this is something that what I want to talk to you about. The number 168, there's 168 hours in 1 week. And that's important to know. Keep that in mind. There's 168 hours in 1 week. Now, in a survival situation, you learn this real quick when you go through something like Katrina or like Laura or someone like this coming in, and the thugs come out, and there's just you and your wife. Now keep that in mind. there's just you and your wife, or maybe you have some small kids, or maybe you have other kids. The scenario that you always hear with homesteaders is this: me and my wife are going to move to a remote location, and we're going to live off the land, and we're going to survive. There's nothing any further from the truth than that. You will be the first one that gets took out, because there's no way that that can happen and you be sustainable and you be able to protect yourself because of 168 hours. Now, let me explain that just a little bit. If there's thugs out there, and there is, or an LCE, you have warlords, gangs, whatever. These guys, or these people, are ruthless. More than likely, they're going to come at night, under the cover of darkness, because most of them are cowards, and that's just who they are. And in a situation like that, somebody has got to sleep, and somebody has got to be awake all the time. So for 168 hours, now that's just 1 week. A husband and a wife can pull it off for about 2 weeks if you're in good health. After the second week, it just gets to be too much for one of you to be awake all the time. We learned that after Katrina, how that one of us would try to stay awake while the other one slept. One would try to stay awake while the other one slept. And if you're a guy and your wife is the one that's having to be awake, you worry about her, so you don't really sleep well. If you're expecting her to do the protecting, not that she's not capable of it, because I know a lot of women that's very capable of protecting, but because it's your wife, you will be concerned, saying you won't sleep well. And then every noise you hear, you'll be awake anyway. And soon, after about a week to 2 weeks of it, your bodies will begin to break down. And as they begin to break down, there's no way possible that you can protect yourself like you need to. Now, for total protection, this is why on YouTube we emphasize community. And believe me, I know from personal experience, I've tried to build community here where I'm at, trying to bring people in, trying to get like-minded people around, and it just doesn't work. I mean, lots of people think they're like-minded, but when it comes down to actually doing the work and being diligent, I haven't found anybody yet that has it. Not to say that some of you guys don't have it, but as a majority of people I find are just not willing to get up early in the morning, they're not willing to get out early, they're not willing to do this kind of stuff. And people's personalities clash. Wanda and I here where we live at, we're going to have a hard time because we're alone. It's just the two of us. The only way that we would be able to survive in an LCE is because of my knowledge of traps and booby traps and stuff like that. I would have to set up booby traps and everything and hope for the best. And I have cameras and I have monitors. I have all this stuff that if anything moves, I'm notified here in the house and I know where it's at. Guys, that's the only way that we would ever survive. But then at that point, you got to realize there's not going to be any electricity. There's not going to be, I'm going to have batteries that's rechargeable. All this kind of stuff has to work and work efficiently. And I don't really see it happening like it should with me and her. And I worry about that a lot. because after the first week or two at our age, we're going to start dwindling down. You know, I mean, our health's going to start getting more, we're going to be sleepy. We're not going to be able to stand guard like we need to. So what it takes for a successful ability to be able to protect an area or a community is usually a minimal of 6 to 8 people. I always like to say 12 to 15. I mean, the Navy SEALs like to send in teams of 16. They have 15 and 16. A lot of your military branches use between 12 and 16 people to do jobs. Some of them do fewer. But there's reasons for that, because everybody has everybody's back. Somebody can rest while somebody's on guard. And when you have a number like 8 or 12 or 15 people, that gives everybody a chance to get a good night's rest, and it doesn't wear everybody out. That's why a community is so important in surviving, because you don't want to put all that pressure on just a couple of people. You need the 6, 8, 12, or 15 people, whichever one. The more the better for you. Guys, that's why you hear these homesteaders and different people talk about, I'm heading off to the mountains to a remote location. My wife and I, kids and I, we're just going to survive on our own. If the thugs find you, they will take you. There's no way possible that you can survive and outlast them. If there's several of them, most of them sleep while one's awake all the time, and they use this scenario. That's why they go in gangs, because somebody can always be awake while everybody else sleeps, and somebody's always got your back. If you're a husband and wife team with small kids off out in the wilderness or in the mountains or whatever, you got to stop and think. You two don't have enough energy to last, usually after the first week, which is 168 hours. If you make it the second week, your health is already beginning to break down. This is why it's so important to have teams of people to do things. And guys, I hope that by sharing this video with you today, you'll understand what I'm talking about. If you stop and think about it and reason with yourself and think about it, you'll come to the conclusion. I'm telling you the truth because I've taught survival. I know how all this stuff works. And don't ever be without one of these right here. Make sure that's with you at all times. Because you don't ever know. The world we live in today, just watch the news. People just shooting people at random now. You know what I mean? Just because. And it's not safe anywhere. And there's no guarantee if you have this that you're not the one that gets shot. You know what I mean? But be prepared. Now, I don't ever want to have to shoot anybody in my life again for any reason in the world. I would rather go the rest of my life and never have to pull that trigger. But there may come the day again where I have to do that. And that's where you need to be prepared. You need to be able to have enough rest to be able to defend yourself. Because if you're tired and you're wore out, your reflexes are not going to be good. And your ability to fire accurately is not going to be good. You know, you need to have plenty of practice with this, because muscle response is everything when it comes to protecting yourself. I've known some of the best marksmen in the world to get killed because of muscle response. Something as simple as taking a clip out got them killed. It's all about muscle memory. You know, you've got to practice and practice and practice and make sure you have it right. And then you don't want to be wore out because you haven't had enough sleep and forget something, because one split second can cost you your life. That's why it's so important that community is built and it's strong. That's why we need to stick together, guys. That's why if you can find like-minded people around you, you know, good luck. But I mean, if you can, or if you have enough family members, that's the big issue. Wanda and I, it's just us. We don't have anybody else. I mean, our kids live way off, and her kids live way off. I mean, we don't have anybody here where we're at. It's just me and her in a neighborhood out here of people that have different ideas about everything, and we would have a hard time. I'm not going to lie about it. We would have a very hard time. So guys, I hope that by talking about the number 168, and I don't want you to ever forget that number, because that's an important number. When you think that you can take off and survive on your own, I want the number 168 to ring in your mind. I don't want it to ever go away. Because there's a false sense of security with people today. They're like, oh, we can make it. My wife and I, we can do this, you know, and the kids, we can do this. In a perfect world, I would say yes. And where they messed with people a long time ago was the Wilderness Family. You know, this guy and his wife, y'all seen the movies. They left the big city and went to the mountains. They built their own log cabin. And they raised their kids in the wilderness and become friends with the animals, which is furthest thing from the truth that you'll ever see. But they painted a picture that it was this glorious lifestyle to leave the city and head to the mountains. And guys, in a perfect environment, that would be great. But we don't live in a perfect environment. As a matter of fact, our world is so dangerous today that I would be willing to guarantee you that virtually few people could survive. Even people with military backgrounds, I doubt they could survive. They might make it for a while, but a good gang with educated men in it, if nothing else, they could just outlast you. You know, I mean, that's my whole point right there. So think about what I said. And guys, this is meant to be educational. It's meant to make you think about your situation. It's meant to make you think about just how prepared are you to take care of you, your wife, your kids, or your family. Is it just the two of you? Then think about 168. Thank you guys from Deep South Homestead.